Welcome everyone to today's webinar. So it's Accelerate Lawyer Productivity and Strengthen Client Relationships with Legal Apps. So I'm your main host for today. I'm Chris, but I'm ably assisted by two of my fantastic colleagues, Kyle and Dave, who you'll hear from later on in the presentation. So again, I think most of you are doing it already anyway, which is brilliant. So if you can stay on mute with cameras off until the Q&A, and then please feel free to put them back on then. Questions, if you do have any during the webinar, please feel free to add them to the chat at any point, either to everyone or direct to my colleague Sophie, who will introduce herself in the chat shortly. Feedback, you'll be surprised to hear we've got an app for that. So at the end of the session, you'll be able to download a quick app to give us your feedback in 1 minute. And timing, we're aiming for about 45 minutes to 1 hour for the webinar today. So what's on the agenda? So we're going to cover a fair few things. So we're going to start off with an industry overview where we'll talk about the challenges faced by legal teams, how you can increase productivity, the importance of technology in legal firms, and then start looking at some actual solutions. So talking about capacity management solutions, project and contract management applications that have been built by clients of ours, and then also client engagement solutions. And then finally, and very briefly, we'll give you a bit of an overview on Fliplet. And then, as I say, we'll get to a question and answer session at the end. So let's get started. So challenges faced by legal teams. So in today's world, having to manage an exponential increase in demand for legal expertise with scarce experts and limited budgets is becoming an impossible task for many firms and many lawyers. So at some point in your in-house career, you've probably already thought about how to improve internal workflows so your team can work more effectively. But what are some of the day-to-day challenges? Well, a couple of the major ones. The majority of legal requests are still received through email, hundreds of emails. So without a defined process, this can lead to broken communications, inefficient business workflows, and high volumes of repetitive work. So law firms also now face intense pressure to prove their value to clients. Return on investment is talked about all the time. And similarly, legal departments need to show the value they bring to the organization. So clients and boards of directors demand cost-effective results, and they know technology and other resources can provide them. For example, no one can continue to justify the cost of thousands of hours of manual labor for activities that technology can now perform much more efficiently and effectively than manual processes can. And this also increases the productivity, not just for lawyers, but for clients as well. Therefore, it's a win-win on all sides. And then there's budgets. So budgets are always tight at the best of times. In the light of the recent pandemic, many budgets have been cut in a lot of areas of firms, which adds even more pressure to try and deliver increased productivity across your business. And resource is a constant topic of discussion when I'm chatting to clients, both in the EU, in the US, and it makes innovation harder, not only to implement, but to even have the time to get a proper innovation strategy in place and working in the first place. But with the right technologies, law firms and businesses can increase their ability to compete and in the process become far more productive and efficient. So let's look at communication. So productivity is important in every industry, but inspiring a team is one of the greatest challenges law firms face currently. With a productive staff, you can take on more clients, you can handle their cases more effectively, you can grow your business. When discussing productivity, we need to understand how employees communicate with each other, but with their clients as well. So the three main areas: face-to-face, the preferred method to talk to people, either directly or via an in-person event. Helps to build trust, rapport, and is the easiest way to get your points over. However, it's become impossible during COVID. Need to come up with different ways of doing things. And okay, the world is starting to open up again, but most firms are still only back 20, 30, 40% in the office and mobile. It's very time consuming having face-to-face meetings. What used to be a whole day dedicated to meeting a client can now just take 2 hours due to Zoom meetings. I know in my old career, I used to drive for 2-3 hours for a 1 hour meeting and then 2-3 hours back. That's 7 hours gone just for an hour of face-to-face time. And even with Zoom meetings, it's become harder to find a free slot in someone's diary. The increase in internal, external meetings decreases output and productivity. We had our quarterly event the other week, and we had a big conversation internally about how much time we now spend on Zoom, both internal and external. And my two colleagues will tell you as well on the webinar today, we're back to back on it. And then you get to emails. Anybody want some more emails? I doubt anybody will say they do. One firm told me recently that during the second lockdown in the US, they sent over 2 million emails. That's a phenomenal amount. It's hard work to break through the noise of email. Increased internal and external need for communication when face-to-face is not an option, email becomes the #1 choice. It takes 2 seconds to get distracted and forget to reply to an important email. When doing a webinar, you've got to close your email off. It'll ping, it'll come in. You get distracted very easily by email all the time. And it's easy to miss deadlines or requests that are in an email thread. And then the phone, calling people. This has caused an increased amount of calls and Zoom. However, people are busy and they can't afford to take a call every time there is an update, every time you want to give them a change or tell them something new. People are not always free when you call. They're on other planned calls. You can't always get hold of them. And it's not scalable. Can't reach everyone in your network at scale when trying to push an update. So we're using these methods of communication on a daily basis, and without even realizing, they may have a greater impact over our productivity and quality of work. They've become the norm, but it doesn't have to and probably shouldn't be that way. So how can we increase productivity? So let's start to look at it. So the first thing to do, and I've done this through my career over the last 20, 30 years, think about the goal you want to achieve and keep the goal in focus. The next step then is to break that goal down into bite-sized pieces. We all know if we're trying to achieve something, both in a work life or a personal life, to achieve that goal, if you can do it in short steps, in short pieces, it's a lot easier. And assign the goals and targets to different people. You'll probably have a project team, you'll have different people working on different projects, different goals. Assign the right targets and the right goals to each person and hold them accountable for delivering part of it. Then you've got to monitor the progress on a daily, a weekly basis, monthly basis. You've got to keep monitoring, keep updating. And then one of the most important things is finding those productivity gaps. Where are the gaps in the process? Where is it falling down? Understand what is preventing you or your employees from meeting those targets. And it can be a number of things. It can be too much manual work, no visibility over the capacity, so you don't know who's available to do some tasks, who is available to do them, missed deadlines, and inefficient communication, which we've just talked about different ways of that. So you can address those gaps with the relevant technological solution. Anyway, that's enough from me for now. So I'm going to hand over to my colleague Dave, who's going to start by talking about the importance of embracing technology in law firms.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that, Chris. So as Chris mentioned, my aim really is to talk about what is important to legal firms when sort of embracing technology and think about the importance of that. So start with the first point there, increased global outlook. As law firms around the world have grown in size and expanded geographically, both in terms of offices, but also in terms of offering their services to alternative areas of the world, things have changed. Computer-based systems have been able to provide the mechanisms for coordinating, controlling these operations, but that's required big investment on development of their information and communication infrastructures and adopted styles of practice that depend on the use of new technology. Now, obviously, this helps lawyers deliver services much faster for their clients. Therefore, legal technology really enhances the global outlook of legal practice, but also plays a hugely important role when it comes to firms positioning themselves in an international legal market. Greater transparency. If you sort of think about the new world, clients' demands are changing on a daily basis, if not hourly, and at an increasing rate. New technology, when you think about it, is key to enabling firms like your own to meet these challenging demands. And obviously, having a client-centric approach is massive these days. It's all about client satisfaction. Legal technology allows firms far more transparency around multiple areas of your own businesses. It allows you to look internally around things. Technology allows firms like your own to show your clients information in a precise manner in real time. Furthermore, when you think about it, you're able to judge performance of your own people against various indicators that are provided by your practice management software or other software that you're using. And this, from a business perspective, allows you to ensure that, I guess, your lawyers are spending time on things that make the most money for the firm and that you're earning the right sort of capital from it as a result. Efficient use of resources. The development of legal technology spans the entire legal sector, delivers benefits on a much larger scale. If you think about it, legal firms use technology can be used as a means to join new ventures, maintain alliances, procure clients, share information, and ultimately efficiently use the resources at their disposal. Furthermore, it reduces the problems of scarcity associated with print, time management, and fast processing information. This is a huge one that I speak to firms on a daily basis. They want to speed up the ways they do things, but in a sensible way that's not going to be, too much at a time. And these sort of projects do take time to incorporate. But there's no doubt that if technology is used correctly, if it's done in a good way, it can be fast and efficient, much faster than any human being can deliver that particular deliverables. And this can prove to be a great assistance to any firm, really. At a high level of analysis can be done in a matter of minutes versus days or weeks when it comes down to human effort. The use of algorithms, for example, enables calculations to be done at 10 times, 100 times the speed, and can easily rectify any errors in a few seconds. Obviously, this previously would have been a huge human effort that would have considered many a tedious task, but it's a perfect fit for technology to manage. And then reduction in chance of errors. Again, as more and more documentation is going online and handled by artificial intelligence, the chance of errors are becoming less and less and reducing, all the time. Previously, human errors could easily been overlooked because the impossibility of detecting every error that crept up. But with the use of an artificial tracking system, an AI tracking system type thing, documents can be analyzed, in an infinite number of ways, and essentially create and cause no errors in a final document, which obviously helps clients and ensures that the law firms are also ticking the bill for themselves as well. If we look at the next slide, Chris, where we're going to discuss what technology companies are considering to implement to change their workplace over the next few years, you can sort of see here where mobile apps is clearly the front runner in here. Social media is always going to be a high player, and more firms are going social, whether that's LinkedIn, Twitter, even Instagram. There's a number of firms I speak to who are looking to post things and generate business communications in that way. It's a really interesting sort of overview of sort of what's happening and where people are going. Even wearables are growing on a monthly basis, and I'm speaking to firms all the time around alternative ways of getting messages through, not only to their people, but also through to their clients in a more I guess more forward-thinking way versus alternative ways. But yeah, as I say, that sort of gives you an overview of sort of where technology is going and where we see things changing from the conversations we're having. But I'll hand back over to yourself now, and obviously you can take us through market trends around mobile.
Superb, thanks, Dave. And I think they're picking on me a little bit. So they've given me this slide because I'm addicted to my mobile phone, and I think Dave's also mentioned wearables because I've just converted to the Apple Watch as well. So, but if you do look at, on a serious note, if you look at some of the market trends, it's quite unbelievable, the numbers. You can see the numbers there for yourself. So people look at their phones on average 58 times a day, over 3 hours of each day that you're awake. I was on holiday last week in Canada, not mention that, so I thought I'd get on the webinar. My colleagues are sick of hearing about it, but I was constantly still looking at my phone just to keep in touch with what's going on. So even when you're away, you are looking at your mobile. Mobile is the #1 source of news, be it from social media, news apps, or the web. We pick up our phone first. It's become the first place people go to for information and communication. We need to be cautious about how we reach people through mobile. It's got to be personalized. People want to have a personal experience. For instance, when I go onto Facebook or LinkedIn, I want to be able to customize my feed. I want to see things that are important to me. And certainly when we're talking to clients, again, all over the world, if I'm a lawyer sat in New York and I've got an internal news app, I don't want to necessarily see what's going on in the London office. I'm not interested. So it needs to be personalized. It needs to feel like it's for me. The information I'm getting is direct for me. And the other key thing with mobile is we don't want to wait for information. We want it now. We want it to be live and immediate. We don't want to wait for a connection. We don't have to wait to get an update. And there's multiple ways to engage people on a topic. So mobile's great. You can create content in very different formats. We're all different people. Some prefer it in podcasts, some prefer visual. So mobile is great for that. So anyway, let's move on a little bit and look at some specific examples of where technology has helped with some of the challenges we've already discussed. So my colleague Carl's now going to join the conversation. He's going to kick this off by discussing capacity management, which is certainly a really hot topic at the moment. So over to you, Carl.
Thanks, Chris. So just before we look at some examples, I'm going to talk about the market perception. I was reading an article on the Law Vision site that was why law firm capacity is so important for business development and what you can do about it, what to do about it. The article stated that helping lawyers bring in more clients is often more of an exercise in removing obstacles. And according to an Azure Associate survey, lawyers are working an average of 54 hours a week. This average workload of full-time associates in commercial law firms has remained constant over the past few years. So in order to make that workload more bearable, more and more law firms are relying on technical aids to help them with this challenge. So in order to plan and manage capacity effectively, organizations really need to estimate demand accurately, translate demand into capacity requirements, estimate existing and future capacity, and identify any gaps between demand and capacity, and take steps to bridge the gaps that they've identified. So what does that really mean? I think with a younger and newer generation of lawyers coming through, there's a demand rather than a need to change. So the new associates coming in are really pushing and driving that change. That lawyers need to be able to make changes and update things on the move in order to maximize their time and their output. Partners are looking to the next generation to help them adapt to newer ways of working. So really sort of push that envelope, move the firm forward. And studies have shown that over £20,000 per lawyer is wasted through inefficient distribution of work each year, which is an astronomical amount, I'm sure you'll agree. So the ability to identify any gaps between demand and capacity through analysis of lawyer availability, workload capacity, etc., is key. So let's take a look at an example that's far more interesting. Change the slide. Thank you, Chris. So the goal here with this capacity app example was to create an app that helps with tracking workload and capacity. So the apps replace an Excel spreadsheet that were previously used to track lawyer capacity. It features a directory with the individual's current workload and their capacity for additional work. Users can quickly search and filter the directory to find the exact skill set and the location of the lawyers that need to support them on the work request. And it's available 24/7, right? It's mobile, desktop. It was developed and launched in a matter of weeks. So it's something that you can implement and it can change the way that your firm works very quickly. Within the app, some good features: the staff can add their specialities and areas of interest to the app, so you can allocate work according to what they specialize in, but also what they're interested in. You can enter the work and forecasted capacity for up to 4 weeks, so it gives the manager a month view, effectively, of the capacity that their team are working at. Managers can use that view to allocate work, and you can also export that data to analyze the capacity forecast versus the actual or to manage productivity. So finally, this app really allows you to utilize the people that you have as much as possible, tracking who has capacity to support your projects and take new work. I think an important thing for this, it started as a standalone app, but firms are now incorporating this feature into other apps that they have that have high adoption. So that could be their return to office and directory apps. Change, thank you. So directory, it was recently released as a new template on the Fliplet Studio. The app enables you to quickly find key people in their organization and learn about colleagues. The key features within this template and the app that delivers to your firm: you have an org chart that's easy to browse and it's instantly updated whenever records are. It holds offices information, including travel information. You have facilities and meeting rooms available at each office, including booking facilities. You can list event details, including office, company, training and social events. You can connect to the people within the directory via email, phone, or third-party tools like Teams or Jabber. I know Teams being integrated or adopted a lot in the majority of firms. And creating custom contact lists within the app allows you to sort of build project teams, event teams, social activity, communications, those sorts of things. So adding the capacity app into your firm directory, for example, but with a view only for the teams and the managers, is a great way of getting people to use and adopt that functionality. So that's all for me really on capacity apps. But Chris, what can you tell us about project contract management?
Brilliant. Thanks, Carl. Really interesting. Thank you very much. So yeah, so let's look at another couple of areas where productivity and efficiency, both for clients and internal law firms, can really be assisted by technology. And certainly with my time here over the last 18 months, I've spoke to so many clients around contract and project management and help them come up with solutions to help. So we wanted to cover a bit about both today. So contract project management are both ideal scenarios for helping both with productivity and client engagement. So what do they do? Well, really, it gives visibility over projects, tasks, and deadlines. So it's an application for clients to be able to track how the contracts are going, how the projects are going. You can have task lists, so not just against each project, but against each user. So we talked earlier about a lot of legal matters are still dealt with via email. Well, you can't manage a task list within an email. You can't allocate an email to a certain project or a certain user. Much easier within an application, and certainly with many that we've worked on with law firms over the last 18 months. Deadline reminders and upcoming milestones. So again, you can get that personalized. We talked about personalization earlier. So I can get deadline reminders if I'm working on a contract that are just for me. If I'm an admin, if I'm more senior, I can probably see all of the project reminders that need to be actioned, and I can see what milestones are coming up, so I can plan. Do I need to bring more people into the project? Do I need to reassign some of the tasks or some of the other bits that need doing on the project? Different views. So again, depending on the level of access, whether I'm an admin, whether I'm the client, whether I'm the lawyer at the law firm, I can see different views. I can get a different dashboard to show me what's going on, to show me what I need to work on, to show me the status of each of the tasks. So again, a very personalized experience that's really helping to make it far more efficient and far more productive. And then I can dig into the details. So it's not just about highlighting what's going on and when it's been done, it's actually doing the doing as well. So going into the details of each of the tasks and each of the stages of the project or stages of the contract. And then one thing that is very different and certainly has helped in both project and contract management is custom notifications. So again, internal to remind you to do things, but also to the client. So the client no longer, if you're working on a legal matter on a project with a client and you've updated, you've completed a number of tasks, you don't need to phone the client, you don't need to send them an email, you don't need to send them a pack or God forbid a letter. You can send them a custom notification through the app. And it will do it automatically when you tick off a task or you tick off a reminder. So again, it's saving time, it's making everybody more productive in the process, and it's making your relationship with that client far easier to manage. What about business planning? And something that this has really come about over the last 6 to 10 months, I would say, that more and more firms are looking at. And certainly, I'm sure there's a number of people on the call right now. We're in October, nearly November already. You'll be planning for next year. I know a number of the firms I work with are, and I know we are internally. Well, how did you used to do that? Spreadsheets by any chance? I bet a number of you still do. Well, turning and using application and using technology to help with your business planning really streamlines the approach. It makes the connection between different plans and objectives across the firm. Again, using our own firm as an experience, we have a number of areas of our business that are all planning for next year. Well, by using an application, we can link all of those plans together. We can see interconnections. We can monitor the progress of our own plans and objectives, but we can also see how our colleagues' departments are getting on. Are there some that are interrelated? We might be relying on another area of the business to do something before we can complete some of our planning for next year. So you can see that at a glance. You don't need to go into a certain tab on a spreadsheet and remember where it is. Collaboration is key, and the collaboration part of it really will help speed up the process by everybody working on the same platform. And it talked about dashboards with projects and contract management. It's no different with business planning. You can have a dashboard to show you the goal, show you the revenue targets, objectives, resources available, etc. And that can be by firm, that can be by client, that can be by department, and different views depending on your access again, but it makes it so much easier. questions and feedback, really key. You know, how many meetings do you have when you're planning for next year? Again, I know at the minute, my diary every week is full of meetings, planning on what we're going to do and what our strategy is for the next year, 3 years, etc. Well, you can do that within the application a lot easier. And it's a lot easier to do that within an application than within email or Slack or MS Teams, something like that. Keep it in the same platform. And obviously the collaboration part comes back to sharing and viewing documents. If you do need to share actual physical plans, you can do that within one platform. You're not moving in and out. You're not having to go into Google Drive. You're not having to send documents via email, etc. And if you're a large firm, you can get access to staff profiles. The beauty about this with a couple of firms we've worked with, they are very large firms. They don't even know some of the people that are working on some of the planning for other departments. So they can get their profile up within the app. Kyle showed you our full directory, or a bit of our full directory earlier. You can have a mini directory within a planning app, so it's easy to contact people. Again, you're not having to go outside to do it. And again, the bottom line, I think for me says, oh, I love a spreadsheet, and my colleagues will tell you I love a spreadsheet, but they're not efficient. And this, by looking at using technology for business planning, it really improves efficiency and moves away from very dated methods of using spreadsheets and email. So I'm going to pass back over to Dave, and Dave's going to take a look at how you can strengthen client engagement.
Perfect, absolutely, Chris. So, so my focus here is to talk about what clients are doing with their legal businesses and how those relationships can be improved and maintained in a better way. If we start with this quote from Tom Parkinson at Rowlandson Solicitors, clients are asking for more frequent contact with their lawyers. Tick. Every client I speak to, absolutely, it's a key thing is around that client relationship piece, around how we can gather information and provide that information in a better, more simplified way, outside of huge emails which take time to compile. Actually provide them real-time information in an app. They want to be kept up to date. They want to know what's happening, and they don't think that telephoning is the best method of communication anymore. Absolutely not. You know, whilst a lot of people are now working from home, trying to get in touch with people on the telephone is hard enough at the best of times. Now it's probably challenged even more. And lawyers are busy people. Replying to emails left, right, and centre isn't necessarily the best way. So actually, you know, a much more effective way to communicate is by using something that people are more familiar with, their mobile devices, their tablets. And it's important, you know, effective communication, both with external clients and internal stakeholders, is proven to increase productivity. The more time lawyers are spending in inefficient processes, the less time they've got to engage and communicate with their clients on important matters. I was actually speaking with a firm just yesterday who mentioned that they've brought in a new policy this year whereby they want to ensure that their lawyers are maximising their billable time by ensuring they're focused on key client issues. So I can't remember what the project was called, but essentially it was to say, we don't want you working on little administrative matters, little matters that aren't really part of your job description. We really want to make sure that you're doing the most with your time, but also that your clients are getting the best out of their experience. And they're specifically looking to introduce apps to help with quicker legal answers rather than taking up valuable lawyers' time. And this in turn allows their lawyers to provide value-added services when clients really need them to. So here's some sort of key parts around how you can strengthen your client relationships with apps and that side of things. So when you sort of start with these points, so sharing relevant information users are interested in. Using something like Fliplet allows your users to actually, you know, decide which information is most relevant to them. If I've got an app that's got 10 different areas of law and I set the 2 or 3 that are most interested to me, well, how about a notification that goes out to those users as and when relevant articles are released that they're interested in? So if I'm interested in litigation, but I'm not interested in property, well, don't let me know about property. Let me know every time something in litigation is released, so I've got something relevant to engage in that allows me to know what's going on in your firm, let you know how you're working. And actually, it may give me ideas about how my business can operate better by utilizing the legal services that your firm offers. Newsletters and customer/prospect engagement. This really comes out to more of a sort of an internal external piece around, okay, emails go out on a regular basis, great, but who's consuming those emails? How are they actually going back to that information in the future? Why not be able to provide them with filterable lists that provide them with information around, again, information they're interested in or something they want to go back to in the future? Managing information and competency, again, it allows users to have something accessible, something familiar that they use on a daily basis, then go to repeat and follow that process time and time again, rather than getting bogged down in searching for things in external repositories or through emails that maybe are age old that they can't access any longer. Knowledge, appreciation, and awareness. Again, this sort of comes back to the point earlier around utilizing the best time possible with your legal business or with your clients. So again, if you are providing them with relevant information that they're able to capture quickly, rather than having to pick up the phone and say, oh, how does this particular law work? How does this legal piece work? Actually, why not provide them with a Q&A or a really sort of simple interface that allows them with these common questions that appear time and time again. B2C information gathering. So some firms we deal with things like wills and other matters. Well, why not use, an information, an app, based information to gather that? So essentially you have a form on an app that a user can fill in, go through a process. So actually it speeds up your time rather than you picking up the phone going, can I have your first name, your second name, your date of birth, utilizing time of an admin person or a lawyer. Actually in an app format, you're getting the most out of your time and collecting all the relevant information you're going to need. And then finally, if we think about interactive features that apps offer, things like checklists, we have a lot of firms using things like Dawn, Raid, or emergency management type tools. Well, what about providing them with a checklist of what to do in one of these situations whereby someone's come in and they said, right, we're going to take all your computers away and all your files away. We want to have a checklist there and available on their mobile where they can go through and go, have I taken a photo of this person's warrant? Have I taken a photo of their ID? Have I uploaded this, and this? Or an assessment around actually, how could we do this if something like this was to occur? How can we improve that understanding, that awareness of what is going on and how we can ensure we're ticking the box from a legal perspective? They're just some ideas around how you can improve the client experience, the client relationships using mobile apps. I'll hand over to Kyle, who'll be talking around client engagement specific examples he's been discussing and bringing to life with our clients here at Fliplet.
Thanks, Dave. So I'm going to talk about two app examples, really. One is it was an app built for new build developers, and the second was an app built for human resources. So these apps effectively can replace, if you like, the regional or in-person events that you might do with clients to help onboard, educate, and inform them. And the first section of the app is really interesting. So that part is used to onboard the client, tell them about the service, provides them with learning events and quizzes. But then once they've passed that stage, if you like, the second stage is for ongoing development and support. And you can also use it for lead generation. So you can use the app to present relevant content, info and quizzes by role profile, which is a really good feature that you can utilize. So you might have some people that are in different stages of their journey with you as a client. It's dual purpose, as I said, so you can onboard and induct them into your service, and then you use it for continual learning or development. The information and quizzes or activities can be built using the no-code quiz and decision tree components that are in Fliplet Studio. So it's a lot easier than it might have been a few years ago if you had to add code in to make those work. And you can use them to test your client's knowledge effectively, or your clients' users can use it to test their knowledge, and then present result-based learning directions to them off the back of the outcomes of the quiz effectively. And obviously the knock-on from that is if there's gaps, they need to know more information, you add in your form effectively, your contact form, you've got your lead gen there through that functionality. You can set notifications and reminders through the app for new content or events that are coming up. Again, target those by user profile, and they can be scheduled with app actions in Studio as well to remove the manual element of that process. The apps also include a glossary, for want of a better term, of legal terms to support the users. It can contain an overview of firm services and FAQs or common issues that you want to fend off, maybe those things that you don't want people contacting you about. I know Chris alluded to a client that sent or dealt with 2 million emails last year. We all want to reduce the number of emails coming into us if they're not going to help us move the business forward. The apps host event information, including a personal diary, which is obviously a really good feature. Again, if you've got different profiles of users within there, they can bookmark and save the events that are interesting to them, that they want to attend, they want more information about, etc. There's surveys in these apps as well, so you can ask your clients and gather feedback from them about the events. What did they find useful? What would they like to know more about? What would they like to see next time, which helps you evolve your business effectively in the service you're delivering. Supporting the events, you can or use a mini directory that Chris also alluded to earlier on for your speakers. So put your contact information in there, little background on them, maybe a bio, so that your clients can get in touch with those people as well. A couple other things, so RSS feeds, which if you've got user-directed content that you want to feed through to them, it keeps them engaged with the app, gives them that sort of one-stop shop, I suppose, on the go to find the information they want. And as I mentioned earlier, the lead gen forms, have those lead generating forms throughout the app, so that as your clients are finding either knowledge gaps or areas of content they want to know more information about, make sure they get in contact with you. You want to hear from them. The app itself can be built using the comms template, and we also have an e-learning template coming later on this year, early Q1 2022, which will be good foundations for this app, depending on the functionality you require. But we've had really good feedback from the clients that have built these apps so far. So obviously, if you've got any questions, stick it in the chat to Sophie, and we can pick those up at the end. But Dave, can you tell us more about how people are getting advice when they're on the move?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is one of the key topics that I love speaking to firms about. So, let's start at the top one there. So giving lawyers insights in the palm of their hands. This is sort of exactly what Fliplet is all about. This is what mobile is all about. We've already explained lawyers are busy people. And as we know, people are hopefully starting to get out more and more. Why not provide them technology which is relevant to their role is key, and having that in the palm of their hands adds huge value to what they're doing. Providing accessible information to clients and prospective clients frees up time for lawyers to focus on their day job. Absolutely. As we mentioned earlier, whilst clients want time with their lawyers, often their questions are only brief and come up regularly. So by providing, a key repository of information to clients whilst they're both out and about, as well as at the desk, is key. This obviously allows their lawyers, their people, to be more productive on more important matters that they're either looking after that particular client on or for other clients. The third point there, so alternative way of consuming information and being able to reference it in order to improve upsell and cross-sell opportunities. So this is a real big point that I talk to clients on a very regular basis about. So our legal clients talk regularly about information sharing within their actual business. Often it's a weekly, monthly newsletter that's shared articles about recent wins or news about the firm. The problem with this is that information gets lost. Imagine you receiving an email 3 months ago. No one can remember what was on that email. So, our clients starting to look at internal tools to help communicate those ideas, but also allow lawyers to filter and search on specifics. I sort of talk it as the back of a taxi app, I like to call it, and quite a few firms are talking about this sort of idea. So I'm a litigation lawyer, and I'm on the way to meet one of my clients who's a manufacturing client, but I know there may be an alternative cross-sell, upsell opportunity, maybe within their, our property legal space. So I'm on the way to the meeting, I'm 5 minutes out, and I'm on the app in the back of a taxi, as I mentioned. So I'll quickly go in, I'll go, what recent wins we had within property law, because I know there's specifics there, and actually can even filter down to go, not just property law, but manufacturing. Take the top 3 headlines, remember those stories, those articles, so when you go into those client meetings, actually you can go, whilst we're talking about litigation, that's our main purpose. Is there an arm here for us to discuss, property law? We've got a team that focus on that, and here's some recent wins we've done to make it really relevant to those clients and make it interesting when you're having those conversations. And I've talked about this earlier. So accessing legal updates through preference notification settings. So if you think about society today, it's dominated by maximizing our output and making the most of our time and being productive. People don't have the time to go into a legal app, certainly on a daily basis, unless they're being served relevant content. More and more firms are looking to gain user preferences when setting up their apps so that they're sharing information that's relevant. So as a potential client or an existing client of yours, I'm being notified when relevant information is being released and made available to you. So again, it's a better experience. So yeah, as I say, I'll hand over to Chris now, who's going to talk to you about how one specific client has been able to greatly improve their productivity through an app they've created using Fliplet.
Brilliant, thanks, Dave. And just to remind everybody, we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left of the presentations to go through, but please do pop some questions over to Sophie on the chat. I know we've had a fair few already, but please keep them coming, and we'll try and get through as many as we can at the end. So yeah, so something I love talking about is an app produced by one of our clients, Mills and Reeve, What the Tech app. Now, I need to do this justice because I know Grace is on the webinar today. So, Grace, I should have asked you to do this section. I'm not sure why I'm doing it. So, a really fantastic app, and you can see there that it's winner of an award. It's a multi-award winning app now. Actually, over 500 staff engaged with the app just after its launch in the first 2 months, and it's had a massive positive increase in tech inquiries. But why did they do it? So what problem were Mills and Reeve trying to solve by using technology? So they didn't have enough bandwidth in the innovation team to answer individual questions coming through from their lawyers. There was low awareness amongst partners of the technology solutions they have available to them to help them and their clients. And getting time-limited partners to engage with traditional training methods, such as technology briefings, was very difficult. I bet you've all faced that, or most of you will have faced that are in law firms on the webinar today. And the information about tech tools and solutions available wasn't easily and readily accessible for used in pitches and client meetings. So people were going into meetings with out-of-date information, never a good thing. And information was conveyed through a lengthy FAQ document and traditional technology briefings, again, out of date quite quickly after they've been done. So basically, everything we've been discussing really already today were the issues that Mills and Reeve were facing. So what did they do? So they created What the Tech. Some of the features, an amazing app, and some of the features of the app are you can see on the screen. So advanced decision tree functionality, aids technology discovery, enables partners and lawyers to make informed technology decisions, saving time and increasing productivity. Provides access to sales packs on the go for improved client conversations. So you've got the latest information, the latest sales packs at the touch of a button. And Ask the Team button to enable staff to contact the client innovation team directly via email, push notification for further information. Admin analytics so that managers can see who is using the app, what features, content they're accessing, and then optimize it accordingly. We deal with so many clients that build fantastic apps. One of the key things, and what Mills and Reeve did so well by using the analytics, is to then build on the app going forward and innovate on the app itself. A newsfeed highlighting the latest tech news with the ability to like and comment to drive conversation, get people engaged, not just with the app, but what they're talking about. That's why people keep going back to it. And push notifications. It keeps all of their staff informed of updates and changes to the tools and solutions available. I know, again, in my last 18 months, 2 years here, law firms have got anything between 50, 60 to 100 bits of tech available to them to assist them in the day-to-day roles. And it's changing all the time. And then a staff that we've mentioned directory a few times today, but a staff directory. So providing contact information across the business. So if you want to get in touch with somebody, you can do really easily, really quickly. So that is just one specific example we've given you today, but it is a very, very good example of where using technology can really assist both with productivity and client engagement in one go. And I hope I've done it justice to you there, Grace. Next time you can do it. So I'm going to now hand over back to Dave, who's going to give you a very quick overview on Fliplet, and then we'll move on to answer your questions.
Perfect. Thanks again, Chris. So Fliplet, obviously, if we weren't going to talk about ourselves, we wouldn't be doing our job very well here. So just a very sort of brief, real overview for those of you who don't already know a bit about Fliplet. So we're a low-code, no-code app development platform. Predominantly, as you can see here, our focus is on the legal market, whilst we do serve some non-legal businesses, and most of our business is split across the UK, US, and Canada at the moment. Now, in terms of how we've developed the platform, we've created a number of key templates, which we've sort of worked through by speaking to our clients, understanding the need, the requirements in the marketplace. And these templates essentially allow organizations to pick up the app, edit it, change the look of it, add their content, and launch the with minimal, if any, technical know-how required. There's some sort of examples here around some of our key benefits and why firms are sort of looking to Fliplet as a way of generating ideas and coming up with new ways of working. So the first one there, unlimited apps. With Fliplet, it sort of says here, you can create as many apps as you like, create prototypes. The beauty of it really is how fast these apps are to create. It's rapid, duplicating apps, things like events apps can be built in less than a day, which is real value when it comes to things like partner conferences or client events. It's truly customizable, as it mentions there. And the beauty of it is, whilst we're no code, for those firms that maybe have more technical people or want to make things a bit funkier, you can do coding as well. So if you've got JavaScript, HTML, CSS skills in-house, then absolutely it's certainly worth considering. We've obviously gone through various security protocols. We work with some of the leading firms globally. So this platform is extremely secure. And the beauty of it is you're able to launch these apps via your MDM platform. They're fully encrypted, SSO integration, etc. And other integrations are hugely popular at the moment. Things like HiQ and other solutions. More and more firms talk to us about it. And one thing we haven't really spoken about actually is we obviously offer mobile, tablet, but also web apps for those clients that really want a multifaceted experience. And one of the key things Chris briefly mentioned a moment ago, Mills and Reeve, analytics, being able to change your app over time, update the way they look and feel based on feedback is a real key piece around where our clients are benefiting from it. So again, that's what I wanted to cover off. Nothing too major there. As far as the presentation is concerned, you'll be pleased to know Death by PowerPoint is pretty much finished. And that's the end of today's slides, but I'll pass on to Chris to run through any questions which may have been asked during today's overview. Thanks for your time.
Superb. Thanks, Dave. And I hope everyone's enjoyed it so far. Some really good and powerful information there, I think. So just before we move on to questions, I'm going to waffle for 30 seconds a minute to give you a chance to download the feedback app, if you don't mind. If you point your phone at the screen, your phone's camera, you should get direct access to the app, which should be really quick to download and only take 30 seconds a minute just to fill in the survey. Sophie will also put a link to the app in the chat. So if you can't get the QR code, then please do use the link and fill in the feedback. Feel free to do that now. Feel free to do that after the webinar, but we would love it. We do a number of these webinars. We try and base them on feedback from yourselves so we can look at the themes we're doing and make sure we're covering things that you want to hear about. So yeah, please feel free to go and do that. Love to get your feedback so we can action it. So let's have some questions. So I think, Kyle, you're in the hot seat for reading them out, but doesn't mean to say you're not going to answer any. So let's have the first question. Okay, I'm going to aim this one. Dave, you can take this one, I think. So the question is, why do we think apps are a better way of communicating over email or calling?
Well, hopefully most of you have been paying attention to the webinar and that should have answered most of it for you, really. But yeah, from the conversations that I'm having with firms, email, I wouldn't say it's dead, but it's certainly a much slower way of communicating when it comes to getting matters sorted, quickly and being able to be on the ball with these sort of things. Phone calls, I mentioned earlier, getting hold of people at this moment is very difficult. It always has been challenging. Having things like apps by integrating with your clients is a much quicker way to get response. People have that need when they see that notification pop on their device to read it, to get involved, to respond to it pretty quickly. So I think that's really the key sort of elements behind why we're seeing, certainly from a client perspective, why mobile is the way forward versus the likes of email and calling your clients. It's that touch point, that ability to get in touch with people, and that need to want to clear those notifications, for example.
Thanks, Dave. So next question, how are privacy and information security concerns aligned with the platform? Wow, I better take that one then. So a law firm, I presume it's somebody from a law firm asking about InfoSec. Amazing. So I guess you'll be surprised to hear, we deal with 50, 60 of the largest law firms in the world. InfoSec is something we talk about every single day. We've been through so many InfoSec processes with every law firm. So we have pretty much that covered. Regarding in-app, it's quite a broad question. Regarding in-app, Dave talked about SSO, encryption, two-factor authentication a little bit earlier. So there's plenty of security facilities and security functions within the apps. But also what I was going to mention there as well is the fact that we, because we do work with so many law firms, we have pen tests available, etc. But you can also within the app have privacy notices, you can have end user license agreements. So if you are talking about personal data, you can get a user before they sign in, before they even get into the app, they have to accept the privacy notice, etc., or an end user license agreement. So all of that can be built in before they access it. Now, even when I go onto some websites now, it asks me to confirm I'm happy with the information I'm going to put into it. And of course, you can decide what personal information is in the app.
But again, it's a bit of a broad question. Hopefully that's answered a fair bit of it. More than happy if there's further part of it to take that as well.
Thanks, Chris. I'll take this. I'll designate myself as the answer to this question. So for capacity and contract management apps you mentioned, can they only be used on mobile or do they work on Web 2? Yes, they work on the Web 2. So whenever you build an app, it'll be built with best presentation for your phone, your device, your tablet, and web as well. So you can access the app on the go, or if you're sat in front of your desk. And the next question is, how can firms use apps for lead generation?
So for lead generation, I think there's many ways. We talked about business development earlier, didn't we? One of the main things I've certainly seen firms do, and Dave will probably add to this answer as well, but one thing I've seen firms that we deal with already do over the last 18 months is on business development apps. We talked about it within part of the Mills and Reeve What the Tech app, is the sales decks, making sure the sales teams have got the latest information on the firms. So when they're at events, they can have the latest information in front of them. They can share that information. They can then grab lead information within the app as well. So it's about the information being available, really. Dave, have you got anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think knowledge is key at the end of the day, and a lot of knowledge gets lost and a lot of noise gets lost in traditional systems like emails, intranets, those sort of things, because yeah, they're searchable, that's fine, but they're not as filterable or as easy to navigate around on your device, certainly on the move. You've got to be logged in through a VPN, for example, if it's with an intranet, which is fine, that's secure. However, that takes time. You have to always be connected to the computer, which sort of creates limitations. So I say the example I gave with the back of a taxi app with that, that upsell, cross-sell piece is certainly a piece a lot of my firms that I'm speaking to are keen to sort of target in on and improve that experience and ultimately make sure that not only their marketing BD people know what the firm are doing, but also their lawyers are acting as BD people that are able to sort of sell in additional services across the piece.
Thank you both. Okay, next up, how long does a typical app take to build and who is usually involved?
So I could say, I'm happy to say, I could say a piece of string, but I think there's a couple of examples of that. It obviously depends what type of app you're trying to build and what it is you're trying to get from it, what your objective is. I think there's from who's involved, typically a few departments. We've mentioned BD, we've mentioned marketing, we've mentioned innovation teams. IT are obviously involved, either just in the oversight, and certainly InfoSec would be involved either pre or during. But let me give you one live example. We worked with Evershed Sutherland at the start of the pandemic. They wanted to produce an app. Their senior partner wanted to produce an app to communicate to the whole firm, not about the business, but about the whole firm being together and about them staying as a firm remotely, how they would chat and talk about movies, their kids, dogs. So they created Open House. They created it in 3 weeks from start to finish. It's a massive app. It's a really powerful communication tool. And it was so quick to do. Their marketing team, their digital team, their innovation team were involved in that, but it wasn't a lot of people. And we helped them along the way. But to have an app from conception to delivery within 3 weeks was amazing. And we've seen other firms do similar, but it does depend on the size of the project. You may want something more technical, you may want integrations, and then obviously it's a longer process. However, we generally work on single app projects within 4 to 5 weeks, and multiple app projects in 8 weeks, is what I'd say.
Thank you, Chris. And we'll just squeak one more in there. The question is, are there AI assisted engines, something like decision trees, etc.?
I'm happy to take that if you want as well. Dave, you want to come in? Do you want me to take it?
No, you go for it, Chris.
I'll go for it. So yeah, to be honest, the answer's in the question. Yeah, absolutely. So we've got a number of ways of building decision trees, and in fact, one of our features that was a low-code feature that I could only just about use is now a full no-code feature, which is decision trees, which I can now use nice and easily because it's full no-code. But you can build chatbots by using a decision tree and use the AI there. You can make it really complex, as easy or as complex as you want to be. So it's definitely doable. Again, it's a short question that's quite general, so it's hard to answer fully, but definitely. And also the integration piece sort of comes into play there as well, because Fliplet is an open platform. So if you want to integrate the app with other AI products, you more than likely can do that. And we talked to numerous firms regarding integrations and how they can use Fliplet as the front end for a different product as well, and some AI products.
Thank you, Chris. We've got a couple of other questions, but I'm conscious of time. So if your question hasn't been asked, we'll get back to you directly.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carl, and thank you, everyone. So just before you do jump off, again, if you've not done the feedback, please do. It really is valuable for us. One last slide just to go through, which is basically the webinars. We do have a couple of upcoming webinars recently. They're both on the Wednesday the 17th of November. They're both being hosted by myself, so that's going to be a busy day. One is actually in conjunction with the Birmingham Law Society, which is the art of the possible, accessible ways to innovate in practice, and that really should be a really interesting session. And then later on in the day, we're doing drive talent acquisition and retention using custom apps. So again, 2 webinars there. Please feel free to use the link to register. And then the last thing really is just to thank you, Dave. Thank you, Carl. I think you've done an amazing job. Thank you so much. You've made my job easy. Thank you, everybody else, for coming. The people I know, I'm sure we'll speak soon. Everybody else, have a great rest of the day or evening or morning, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you, everyone.